Hi, John Emmett. Evening all, he sang. He's maybe back from the pub already. Andrew Pindar is there. Stingray up in snowy Seattle. Pindar, of course, I presume in the UK. Pedro Foiling Sailor in Sydney saying it's raining down under at Worley. Cheers to you. Steve Ross, good afternoon from San Diego. Howdy from Austin. James Bland is saying. Joe Holtzman, welcome to Joe Holtzman. He hasn't been live on the show in a long time. We're back here, of course, as usual at Beach Street Yacht Club Studio B with a great show coming up, including Captain Jack Schafer. John Schafer, who's standing patiently by in Annapolis, Maryland, and he will be with us in a moment. He's going to co-host the show with us today, Julia, as we count down the final 5 seconds. Welcome.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Up. Good afternoon from San Francisco. A rainy, coldest day of the year. Coldest day in a long time here in San Francisco. Welcome to another TFE Live. This is our show number 483, if my glasses are adjusted right. Tuesday, the 28th of December, our last show of the year, because we're going to take Friday off, as we've been telling you. Delighted to have with us Captain Jack, John Schafer, standing by in Annapolis, but we'll be to him in a moment. John, nice to see you. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. But we want to say thanks here at the top of the show to John Sangmeister, who was our guest last, Tuesday, Julia, it was. And John, Julia, all in the Christmas spirit. It was a lot of fun, terrific show.
And today is his birthday.
And today is his birthday. In fact, I got a snarky text from him this morning saying, hey, you haven't wished me happy birthday. What a crouton.
Mine came back. I don't know what that is.
Well, he's up in Colorado. He's a family vacation. But, on these mornings preparing the show, it's hard. I got a lot to do. Sorry, John. Happy birthday, John. If you missed our watch party on Christmas night here on Saturday, the 25th, we had a really nice group. Not a huge group. I don't know, 40, 50 people. And we watched. Good thing we did it because the YouTube site didn't work. Some other people, Live, Sail, Die, I think, was co-streaming it out of New Zealand, but we managed to find it on the Rolex Sydney Hobart site and get it. Even that was a bit dodgy, but a nice group. We watched the start. It was breezy and lumpy, as I'm sure you all know, and they've had a really rough race. Something like half the boats have dropped out. I'm not so sure what the number is, but we'll talk to John Schafer. He's been following the race closely. And this is our last show of the year. We want to wish you all Happy New Year in advance. On Friday, I'm going to watch college football. My beloved alma mater, the University of Michigan, is in the college football playoffs for the first time since they've had this formal tournament of the Final Four teams, and they will be playing Georgia on Friday, while Alabama will be playing Cincinnati of Ohio. And the winners of those games on Friday will meet in 1 week's time on the Monday night the following week for the championship. I fully expect Michigan, those of you who are Michigan fans, I fully expect Michigan will get beaten by Georgia, who's just a terrific team, and then Georgia will go against Alabama in the finals, who in the meantime will have beaten Cincinnati, but who cares? We're talking here about sailing. Happy New Year to you all. This Friday will be a day off. We will not have a show. We talked about it, Julia. We talked about putting our little bib and tucker on, our black tie, and getting dressed up. But we thought it was better if we let our foesy, down under, it's their Saturday morning.
Yep.
And it'll be their New Year's Day morning. They'll want to, like Jody Shields, he'd be up. But, they need to sleep in and not be hungover. And we don't want Peter Stevenson to have to get up early. And we don't want our friends in Europe to have to, think that they're somehow going to tune in here. Not that they have to, but it's their New Year's Eve. And we're going to watch college football our Friday afternoon. So bravo, Zulu, to that holiday, to the new year. Hopefully 2022 will be better than 2021. And Captain Jack, John Schafer, is with us. His new, fairly new business, maybe a year old, called the Ministry of Sailing is what we're going to feature today. And we'll get John on here right now. Welcome, Captain Jack. Welcome to the show for what, the third time?
Yeah, I think it's number 3. That's right.
Delighted to
Thank you
have
very
you. You're in Annapolis, right?
Yeah, that's right. Close to it. We're just like 19 miles south of Annapolis right now. And you're talking about Friday. I think we're going to be out sailing Friday. Weather looks fantastic.
But you're a better man than I. This is the one day a year maybe I watch a few Michigan games during the year, and I do watch the odd game with Julia, who likes to watch her Stanford. They used to be called the Indians. What do they call now? The tree.
Cardinal. The Cardinal.
I know, the Stanford tree. That's the
No, they're not the tree.
Stanford tree. Captain Jack, let's go see who all is here. There's a lot of comments. These are, Gordon Smith. I didn't get his on here. He's good evening from cold, dark Denmark. Peter Taylor, you just saw us in New York. Stingray says, boom. Yeah, the automatic sign-on is all working great. My beloved mother, Janice Davis, is just starting to snow in Ann Arbor at the home of the University of Michigan. Mom, enjoy the snow. Sorry you didn't have a white Christmas. Krasimir Naumov is in Bulgaria. John Emmett, sorry, but I have to say, a quick glance, it does look like a green poo. I think he's talking about that hat on top of Sangmeister. He's not talking about Schafer or you or me. Hopefully,
we don't. Only because we don't have green on.
Well, I've done away with the Christmas decorations and changed the studio back to the blue. Julia, the light over your head is blue. The light behind me is blue. And
in honor of Michigan, I assume.
Well, no, it's just our color. It's our colors are blue and orange. John Emmett talking about the green poo on Sangmeisters. He'll love that. Shannon Carr, happy New Year from Huntington Beach down in SoCal. Great surfing town, just north of Newport Beach, south of Long Beach. Huntington Beach. Very nice scarf, Julia. Andrew Pindar is saying.
Thank you, Andrew. Has a history.
What's the history?
Oh, it's just old.
What's on it? It looks like
butterflies. Lots of butterflies.
Gary Roberts is checking in from a slightly damp Sydney. Stingray replying to Andrew Pindar, are those swallows European or African? I don't know if they're talking about your scarf, Julia, or something else. They're butterflies, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he wasn't talking about your scarf. Michael McCarty. Hello, Michael. Welcome to you. Peter Salwin, thanks for some of your communiques this week. Hi from a slightly cooler Auckland this morning. Peter, I hope your leg is repaired. He was in the Horse Pistol for a while after stepping off a dock and I think missing the boat onto which he was stepping. And Colin Jones, Harrington Harbor is not Annapolis. Now, what do you say about that?
Yeah, he's getting me on that one. Yeah, but who knows where Tracy's Landing is?
Well, that's on the bay too, isn't it? On Chesapeake Bay?
Yeah, it's in the same area. I'm there fast enough.
So who's Colin Jones? I don't recognize the name. He must be a buddy of yours?
Yeah, he's down in our way.
Well, I'm glad to see someone giving you a serve, as the Aussies and Kiwis say.
Give it to me. You know, my ego gets in the way, so I need to step on it a lot.
Sunny and warm in St. Croix, Michael McCarty is saying. It'd be a nice place to be.
It would.
Yep, Stingray, those are flutterbys. Those are, what on your scarf, Julia?
Yep.
Just butterflies.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, remind me not to wear a scarf next time I'm on the show.
Well, you'll get hashtag where's the scarf, or maybe
I get
in your
criticized
case,
if I don't.
Exactly, and maybe in your case you'll get hashtag what WTF that scarf. Why is he wearing a scarf? Well, you know, all the Europeans wear a scarf to the football games in honor of their home team, and of course it's this time of year we all wear scarves. Pindar is saying the reply function sometimes makes it look as though people are answering a different question to the one intended. Yeah, this whole question and reply and commenting thing we don't have sorted out completely. Rockstar Yachtsman Marcos is saying about you, I guess, John. Marcos is a
good guy.
Yeah, Marcos is a good guy down in Newport Beach. Go ahead.
Oh, he's a gentleman who's also sailed on the same boats that I have before. Marcos
has sailed on a lot of different boats. Alan Long, hey, front in the RSHYR tracker. He's right in front of his tracker on. So, Alan, keep us posted. We're going to report on the first to finish, of course, and tell us what else is going on. I assume Law Connect is finished by now, but I don't know. I didn't have time to check it. Peter Selwyn, my daughter's about to arrive home having just passed her driving test this morning. First time. Congrats to her.
That's a big day.
That is a big day, and look out for everybody down there. I guess in Auckland on the road. Let's get on here with the slides, Captain Jack and Julia. The starting line is where we are. We'll start with the Bravo Zulu. Speaking of the Rolex Sydney Hobart, let's do that one. And do the Bravo Zulu 2. The number one team, at least first to finish, line honors for one of these two trophies. And what a great job. Really, the Bravo Zulu, as much as anything, I think, John, deserves to go to the Cruising Yacht Club, whose shirt you are wearing.
Yeah.
Because they managed to pull this race off. They got 90 some odd entries. They had a little bit of attrition because of COVID. And of course, then they had a lot of attrition since the start. But just to get the race off in the face of Omicron and all these other problems, and their government not being hugely cooperative, they've managed to do it. Bravo Zulu to the CYCA. What sayeth you?
Absolutely. I mean, putting that race together, as things are changing so quickly. I mean, we're following the news here in the United States. It's changing every single day. We're getting new guidance. And for them to stay on top of it and still put off the race, huge Bravo Zulu. I think they did a great job.
In fact, this morning, we were going to have a New Year's Day kind of a potluck brunch here at the Beach Street Yacht Club. And we called that off this morning, didn't we, Julia?
Yeah. Just a little bit too much going on.
Well, I mean, and we listened to our good friend, the good Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin.
Yeah.
And we would be violating everything he's told us to do. We'd get a bunch of old farts in a relatively closed-in space here at the Beach Street Yacht Club. Probably we'd open the windows, but it's cold. It's really bloody cold here now, so we wouldn't have that much circulation.
Low 30s here this morning.
Was it that cold?
Yeah.
And, we breathe on each other, and with this thing being so transmissible, yeah, we're all double vaxxed. We are all, right? We're all boosted. Even you are now boosted, right?
Yep.
So press on regardless. What's your plans for New Year's Day?
You watch football. As a matter of fact, my father, most unfortunately, is not watching this right now. But my brother was quarterback of Air Force, and so my dad is totally glued to Air Force in the bowl game right now.
Who are they playing?
I don't know who Air Force is playing right now. Is it one of the bowls?
You're a Wisconsin boy. You grew up at Lake Geneva, in the town of Lake Geneva. So did you go to Wisconsin, or were you a Wisconsin fan?
Well, I was not a Wisconsin fan because of the way they treated Air Force when they played Air Force. I played up in Minnesota. I played at Bethel University, and that was football. I tell people every time we made a tackle, it would be illegal now. So that was a different day.
Sounds like you were good at spearing, leading with your helmet.
Well, we were taught to tackle that way.
Well, it's bad for your own neck and head, not only the person you might be spearing.
Well, I do have a lot of memory issues.
And some of you would rather not remember anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get back here to the Sydney Hobart, and it was a fantastic start. Those of you who missed the watch party, it was good fun. Really bumpy. They got around the heads, they got outside and into the ocean, and they were going downhill, and you can see these conditions here. I think this picture's early in the race. This is Blackjack, the eventual line honors first to finish. But Scallywag had a problem, I'm sure, with the tack of their jib. You saw that, John?
Yeah. That was a wet race for everybody. Everybody was banging, I think, into those waves, and the backs of those waves with the wind, way the wind and the current was, the backs of the waves are going to be like jumping off of a cliff every time you come off the back of them. There was no backs of them. So it was going to be a big banging and a big wet race for everybody. And I think Blackjack did well because I think their inside route, if you look at it, gave them a lot more leeway and probably kept them out of the big waves. Yeah,
they stayed closer to the coast than did Scally and Law Connect, right, all the way through if we followed the race tracker.
I think it really worked well for them.
Let's see what Magnus wrote this morning. This was actually, he wrote this before they finished, but they had a pretty good lead, and it looked like Blackjack would win. He said, the 2021 Sydney Hobart is serving up a thriller where only the brave dare to venture. It's been a heck of a race so far, tough and uncompromising. Even some of the most experienced professionals are calling it the hardest race for a very long time, probably since maybe even 98. The retirements came thick and fast into that first night as boats and bodies broke under a sickness-inducing swell in an unrelenting breeze.
Oh, that sounds so.
we were on a call yesterday with some friends, and they always this is a Monday lunch bunch. We normally have lunch, but we now do it virtually because of COVID. And I was asked, well, you mean this? We described the conditions and what was going on, seasickness and the breakdowns, and they said, and this sport is fun.
I know.
Why do we do this sport, Captain Jack?
For the plastic trophy. Don't ever forget. We do it for the plastic trophy.
Well, I said it's like mountain climbing. That's why people do it. But why do people climb Mount Everest? It's because it's there, because they can say they did it. And how many people have died trying to climb Mount Everest, for God's sake?
Absolutely. For me and my team, a lot of it's I do with a lot of disabled vets and a lot of veterans. For us, it's a lot of psychological development and stress relief. It really is a great way for us to work together.
Mm. Well, stress relief it is, and I think that's true for sailors too. When we all end up after a race, offshore or otherwise, people ask why are sailors such partiers, because they're just damn happy to survive the race and be with their mates when they get back to shore. But let's go back to what Magnus had to say, talking about sickness-inducing swell and unrelenting breeze there in that middle graph. The Wise kept their powder dry, reefed down, and slugged it out. A good observation, good point. Keeping one eye on boat preservation and ignoring the leaderboard. You certainly couldn't win the race in that first 24 hours, but you could lose big time. Reminds me of the old Formula One saying, to finish first you've got to finish.
Yeah.
The glamour boats played the same game with the professionals on board earning their money, calling for conservatism and adopting a hang in there, quote unquote, mentality. The weather routers knew that this was a race of transitions with a monster high pressure filtering up the racetrack from down south that had the ability to turn the tables. And I think really good observations by Magnus. Mm-hmm. He went on to say, first, it was the heavy upwind flyer Law Connect that was setting the pace in the big breezes, but Blackjack, the aptly named vessel of the benched Peter Harburg, sailing under the Yacht Club Delmonico flag, hung in there safe in the knowledge that as the winds abated, their time would come. And sure enough, it did in spectacular fashion. Down the eastern seaboard coast of Hobart, it was, I think he means Tasmania, it was a classic ocean racing duel as the two boats crisscrossed the rum line, keeping watch on the hard-driving scallywag, who'd had that problem early in the race, just behind, but well in touch, who has been playing catch-up all race and has its tail up. That is our esteemed friend, Magnus the Magnificent, Magnus Wheatley, writing today in his Rule 69 dot. I finally have the URL right, 69.blog. You read his blog, John?
Yeah, all the time.
Julia, you do too, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I like his writing style. I try to read anything about sailing.
Yeah, in talking about sailing, I just want to mention too. There's a podcast that you're a big fan of. In fact, you were just on it, weren't you?
Bar Karate.
Yeah.
I converse with those gentlemen a lot. They have the same sense of humor, it seems like the rest of my family does, and most of my sailors I hang out with. So it is enjoyable to hang out with the Bar Karate crowd. It's a great, I think in a couple countries, they're the #1 comedy act that there is on podcasts.
They are funny, and I commend it to you. The Bar Karate Podcast, it is called. And I know a lot of John Emmett, Pindar, a lot of the guys on here watch it, guys and gals for that matter. Let's go back to the comments for a sec. Mary Jude Szymanski checking in from Philadelphia saying, hi, Pedro Farling Sailor. I enjoy football, but we can talk about can we please talk about Formula One on this sailing? You know we cover the waterfront, Pedro Farling Sailor, a.k.a. Peter Stevenson. Gordon Smith, why are mountaineers roped together to stop the smart ones from going home? Graham Sweeney up in Shetland in the UK is checking in. Good evening, all. Pindar replying to Gordon Smith for fear of the shout from above. Gordon Smith, look, Fritz, no hands. Vela Cubana, who is in Cuba, is in Cuba. Mm-hmm. Good morning, team. Good, hello, sir. Good, sir. I guess he's normally in Cuba. It's nice to see you on again. I did the karate bar John Emmett did. And he said it was a lot of fun. Yeah, there's a link to it. Thanks, Andrew Pindar, for that.
Thank you, Andrew.
Let's go back to the yacht race here. There's a lot of video out there already. I didn't grab any of it. We'll do a wrap up on the show on next Tuesday because we're not going to do a Friday show. But this was the conditions when they finished, 6-7 hours ago. It's 7:22 down there in Sydney now. So this was, middle of their night. And Blackjack just crossing the finish line to take the line honors. Very well sailed race, whether it was in the rough going or the light going up the Derwent River. They did it in 2 days, 12 hours, 37 minutes, and 17 seconds. Not a record time by any means. LDV Comanche still has that record, don't they, John?
Yeah, by a full day.
Yeah, from a couple of years ago. There was no race last year, as I'm sure most of you on here will know. Bravo Zulu to them, though. They had a terrific dockside welcome. A lot of Tasmanians were out there to welcome them on their, this is a big deal in Australia, all across Australia, covered live on television, and even the finish, a lot of webcasts and live TV. The prize giving here with the team. You can see Mark far right. That is Squark, as we call him, as a lot of us know him, and just a terrific sailor. I think that's Mark over on the right, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And here's the owner, who is, I don't know the gentleman, but by all accounts is a terrific guy. Here they are being interviewed. Mark Bradford there on the left, and owner Peter Harburg. Now, I didn't realize that he did not sail. And did I get that correct from Magnus? Magnus is that he was on the bench, meaning he didn't sail. You know if that's true, Peter, or many of our other friends on here may know, many of the other Fozy. Yeah, Nick Douglas did a great job at the finish. He always does. I don't know if Peter Harburg sailed. He was 78 in 2018, so he must be now 80 or 81. Bravo Zulu to them both. As I say, I've known Mark for, I guess, the better part of 20 years, from dinghy days, Olympic days, match racing days. I did a little look into Peter Harburg this morning, and according to the 2018 Australian Financial Review, they ran a story. Yeah, true, Alan Long is saying true, he did not sail. Sydney to Hobart veteran Peter Harburg selling his remaining $150 million properties. These are Brisbane office buildings and perhaps beyond. This is one of the big banks' headquarters, in fact. And why did he do it? Well, he's getting on, he said, but I love this quote. I absolutely love this quote from 3 years ago. I'm 76 now, and I don't think it's time to start doing, and I think it's time to start doing more important things like sailing boats and driving cars, Mr. Harburg told the Australian Financial Review. Do you know the gentleman, John?
No, I don't, but I have a feeling the gentleman collects both boats and cars that are carbon fiber. So he's got.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the carbon fiber cars go with the carbon fiber boats. So super cars and super boats. So good for him.
Yeah, wonderful quote. And I love that. And whether he's, 78, 79 now, maybe even 80. Which boat's owner was from Monaco? That Stingray, that is the gentleman who is from Monaco.
Yeah.
All right. He's representing Yacht Club de Monaco. Obviously, he's an Aussie, and I don't know what his home club was down in Australia, but he's sailing for YCM. Maybe he now lives in Monaco. It's possible. Here's another shot of the boat coming late in the race, I believe. Nice shot. It's really a nice shot. Andrea Falcone, I think, took that shot. Bravo Zulu, you can see it in the credits. To the entire Blackjack crew, the owner, who apparently was not aboard, but to everybody else, well done. And who else now? Law Connect, I assume, has finished. And do we know?
Yeah, Law Connect finished. So did Scallywag. And I think Stefan Racing also finished.
Stefan Racing was running fourth.
Yeah, I think they're off.
Yeah, Alan Long says that's a tax thing, from what I understand. The boat's from Queensland. Tax-free sailing. Jody Shields, who was a Aussie, down there saying, well, bravo Zulu to them. Fantastic job. How long do you think, John, before we will know who is the handicap winner?
I'll bet you in the next day you'll be able to figure that out. And it seems to be going back and forth between a couple TP52s and I think a Sydney 40. But given the way the wind is so fickle right now, they're in a big hole just by the islands right now. It's going back and forth, but I'll bet you if TP52 takes it overall.
Peter Selwyn is saying that Stefan Racing still 65 nautical miles to go, according to the tracker just now. Yeah. Peter, since you're on the tracker and glued to it, I believe Alan Long probably is too, tell us who right now is leading on that top handicap and also who's leading in the double-handed while we talk a little bit, Captain Jack, about what's going on in double-handed sailing. You're a big offshore sailor. You're from Annapolis, which has been pushing double-handed offshore sailing now. Annapolis Yacht Club, Eastern, what? Not Eastern Yacht Club. What is it called?
Eastport
Yacht Club. In fact, yeah, I saw just before we went to air, I saw a press release from those joint clubs saying they're going to run some seminars and getting the ORC club rule and trying to make it more accessible for kind of non-professional Corinthian type sailors. And I suppose we should get your neighbor Dobbs Davis on here sometime to tell us what's going on with ORC. He's the PR guy for ORC. That rule, the U.S. rule, as opposed to the IRC, which is used more internationally, but increasingly ORC is starting to use the club. What's going on with the double-handed?
Well, I think Annapolis Yacht Club was the first in the U.S. to do a double-handed regatta, and it's been very successful. Their double-handed regatta they've been doing. We have the Chesapeake Bay, so it provides a lot of challenging conditions that you have when it is windy. It's blowing off the chains, but you're really good as a light boat there in the Chesapeake Bay because there's no wind. This year wasn't bad, so you have to have your complete set of sail suites to do some kind of damage if you really want to race hard.
Mayfair, according to Peter Selwyn, is leading the IRC, and Speedwell is leading the double-handed. What is Speedwell? Is that a J99 or something? What kind of boat? Somebody will tell us what Speedwell is. I saw pictures. In fact, I grabbed the picture and was going to stick it in and then thought, well, it'll get too carried away. The segment will get too long.
There's some nice Sparkman and Stevens that are still out there racing, too.
Peter Selwyn is saying Mayfair's time to beat 03:21:07. So that is on the 30th of December. So that's still a day away. It's the 29th down there now. It's 0700, 0730 down there on the 29th. And they've got 10:07 on the 30th. So they've got another 24 hours. I wonder how they're doing. Why is it called double-handed? Shouldn't it be called four-handed?
He's absolutely right. I know.
Jody Shields comes up with the cleverest comments. Thanks to Jody, too. We had Jody on here the other day when we had Sangmeister. He came on after John. Was it John? Was that the same show, wasn't it? And Jody came on and gave us a quick look. Speedwell is a Beneteau 34.7, David Cook is saying. Thank you.
That's right.
Thank you for that, David. Well, Captain Jack, let's move ahead now to your segment. I think we've got most of the comments. Before we do your segment, though, apropos, you know what? Julia, you'll like this segment. Apropos what is going on, there's a connection, albeit tangential. The connection to
this day in history.
Well, this day in history, but to the Sydney Hobart race. What happened on this day in history? And John, you know, because I showed you in the tech check. So, Julia, it's up to you now. What happened in this day in history in 1991?
91. In the Tasman Sea?
No, but it's as I say, there's a weak connection to this 91. Event. Here's your first clue.
Oh, okay. That's Ted Turner.
R.E. Richard Edward Turner III, a.k.a. Ted. What happened to Ted or with Ted on this day in history, Julia?
What year is it?
1991.
91.
Here's your second clue.
Hit the cover of Time?
He did, but not for the first time.
I know. The first time was on winning the America's Cup.
It was winning the America's Cup. Well done. It was also the first time was, another time was when he founded CNN. He was on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
But this time, he's on the cover of Time because he was named Man of the Year on this day in 1991. CNN's Ted Turner, History as It Happens, is what he called, that was his tagline for CNN.
Right.
Founder of CNN, of course, as you all know, the piece particularly highlighted, this piece in Time magazine highlighted CNN's coverage of Operation Desert Storm, Gulf War I, proclaiming it history as it happens. And I remember all of us, I think were, John, and you're a bit of a military guy too, fascinated by the coverage. You know, forget about embedded journalists and all the stuff that goes on now, but the coverage that CNN managed to give was the first time anybody had a behind the enemy lines type view of what was going on. They Baghdad let CNN in, right, John?
Yeah, I was in the Army then. I remember it well. I was stationed in Hawaii when that was going on, and we were getting ready to deploy. So I remember that very, very well. And the biggest intel we had were their camera crews sitting in the Ishtar Hotel, filming everything. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, that was the biggest intel the U.S. had, right? Was watching CNN's cameras.
Well, some people might say that, but I'm pretty sure we have a lot of great intel out.
Was this the War of Baghdad, Bob? Remember that?
I think that was the next one.
Was that the second war? We every now and then we come up with somebody here who is a PR guy or gal who just spins and spins and spins. Well, no, there's nobody. There's no tanks here in Baghdad.
Yeah,
knowing full well there were. Mm-hmm. Any other comments here? Well, that was a long time ago. It was 91. So what is that? 4 years ago?
Yeah,
30 years ago, right? 30 years ago.
I'm aging myself.
But here's what Turner said about the network when it debuted. Remember, it debuted in just after he won the Cup in 77, and it was 79, I think, when it actually got on the air. Turner famously stated before the network debuted, quote, "We won't be signing off until the world ends. We'll be on, and we will cover the end of the world live, and that will be our last event. We'll play the national anthem only one time, and that's on the 1st of June when they went live in 1980. And when the end of the world comes, we'll play Near My God to Thee before we sign off." Reportedly, Turner plans to make good on that promise, or did. He commissioned a video recording of a military marching band playing the hymn. Turner has sometimes played the tape for reporters, noting the reason he made it. In 2015, the video was found in CNN's database and leaked. The video was tagged in the database as "hold for release till the end of the world is confirmed." Only Ted.
I miss the humor that comes along with the news.
He's not in great shape. I was with him a couple summers ago in Newport, and he's CNN. What does it stand for? Jody Shields is asking. Chicken Noodle Network is what the detractors called it originally. Of course, Cable News Network, because in those days it was a cable news network. You find a joke, Cable News. Peter Selwyn's got the answer. Best thing about Operation Desert Storm up there above from Stingray was George Bush backing off from cummeling the retreating Iraqi forces. They were completely defenseless. Yeah, some have argued that that was not a good move, but let's don't get into a discussion of the war. But on this day in history, Commodores and ladies and gentlemen, it was an historic event. Ted Turner was named Time Magazine Man of the Year. And as you correctly pointed out, Julie, that was not his first time on the cover. Nice to have such a famous sailor who has done, so many famously good things. He gave $1 billion to the United Nations, right? Yeah. He gave $1 billion. Some people on the right might argue that was money not well spent, but he did nonetheless.
And because he believed in it, he's been rescuing lands around the world too.
Well, he at one time was the largest landowner here in the U.S., right,
yes.
Other than the federal government.
And in South America.
And I think it was South America as well?
I mean, in the south of South America.
Well, at one time you could walk from Canada to Mexico on contiguous properties of his.
Oh, that's right.
I remember I think Gary Jobson told me that. Okay, any other comments? I don't see any other comments. But the tangential connection to the Sydney Hobart, who recognizes this yacht besides John Schafer? 21. It's red. This is the 1972 Sydney Hobart. It is a 12-meter yacht.
I know. Marcus and Mike McCartney know.
Tell us about American Eagle. You sailed on that boat a lot.
Yes, yeah. I think it is the most uncomfortable kite to trim in the world. I don't think there's been a more uncomfortable boat ever made.
Well, low freeboard, and it was a 12-meter, and it was built not for the Cup, but it got, was used in the Cup.
Sure was, I'm telling you. I mean, it's a looter design, so God love a looter, but oh my gosh, is that uncomfortable to trim a kite on?
Bill Looters, the late great. When did you sail on it?
So I think it was the 175th New York Yacht Club. I was kite there. A couple other teammates, good teammates. Yeah, good boat. And it used to be stationed in Annapolis. It used to be an Annapolis boat.
Well, speaking of which, this boat, and the reason we're featuring it here, not just because of Turner, but it won the Sydney Hobart race in what year?
Ooh.
What year? 92 from memory. I think we've got that in one of the slides. American Eagle finishes first in the Sydney Hobart race, the headline from the New York Times of the day. Michael McCartney knew this was American Eagle. Sydney, dateline yesterday, it was actually an article from today in the New York Times, the 30th, a couple days from now. The American-owned yacht American Eagle was first to finish this afternoon the 630-mile Sydney Hobart ocean race, beating a Canadian yacht. Get that. There's an American winner and a Canadian second, Greybeard.
I remember Greybeard.
Over the line by 15 minutes, 16 seconds. So that was a close finish. American Eagle was also favored to take handicap honors as she finished on the last of a breeze that faded before the smaller yachts were in sight. American Eagle, built as a 12-meter in 64 to defend the America's Cup, was converted to ocean racing by her owner, skipper Ted Turner, a television station owner from Atlanta. The 68-footer failed by 56 minutes, 23 seconds to break the race record set by the American yawl Ondine II in 1962. Her time was 3 days, 4 hours, 42 minutes, and 39 seconds. What a difference to the times today.
Yeah, I think the top speed was 8 knots. I love 12 meters and I hate 12 meters. Uphill 8 knots, downhill 8 knots.
Yeah, and if maybe they'd surf at 10 or 11. Now, for extra credit, does anyone on here, we got a lot of people watching this, and welcome to all of you again. Anyone on here, can you tell us, for extra credit, who the navigator was on that boat?
In 72.
From Fort Worth Boat Club. This is from 72, yeah. Did I say 90? Yeah, they won the race in 72. Thank you. Here's the crew list. And there are a lot of famous names on here. Ted Turner, and the navigator was the Fort Worth financier, the patriarch of the Bass family, Perry Bass. A nice gentleman, great guy, great sailor, small boat sailor, Fort Worth Boat Club, Eagle Mountain Lake. And you got Peter Bowker, Golland, Hyatt, Sterling, Miller, Marty O'Meara, the late great, who just passed away about a year ago, Richie Boyd, Mitchell, Tolhurst, and Baldwin. What a lineup of sailors that was, Captain Jack.
Oh, yeah.
American Eagle winning the race in 72. And he had yet, in that time, he had yet to win the America's Cup because he didn't win it till 77.
Yeah, and American Eagle just was refit. So it's really in great shape right now.
Is it?
And what race, what club, for extra credit, what club was Ted representing in that 72 Sydney Hobart? Annapolis Yacht Club, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. So you sailed on that boat. Tell us what it's like. Have you been on it recently?
No, I was supposed to be, but with COVID and everything, and I got stuck doing some security stuff. I think the last time was the 175th New York Yacht Club Regatta.
What, a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, that was 2 years ago. And I was flying the kite. Mike McCarty, who was on earlier, he was on the mast. Really had a really good crew. Fought it out to the end, and then there was a protest, of course, of which we won't talk about.
Okay. Yeah, Mike McCarty's still on here. He's saying American Eagle. Alan Long is opining. He's saying doing a distance race on a 12-meter is tantamount to lunacy.
Alan, you are absolutely correct.
Well, let's go to tell us about your sailing background. I took this off your Facebook page. I love the picture. This is your boat, right?
Yeah, talk about lunacy. What kind of owner is the bowman on his own boat?
The bow chick.
Yeah, there he goes. That's me, the bowman, and good sponsorship from Quantum there. So thank you very much, Quantum. It's a Catalina 445. It's the fastest boat on the bay, with 2 air conditioners, a generator, and a complete solar setup.
I think you did a show from that boat, didn't you?
Absolutely. It's
Didn't you wonder you were down below and you were on your phone or something? And we did one time when you appeared on this show, a couple 3 years ago.
That's exactly right. I mean, the salon in that thing is fantastic. Jerry Douglas designed boat. This is the 5 Series Catalina, great ocean going boat, and you can see, I got a little bit of a bob on there for the code 0, which is nice. And so it's got a complete set of uphill and downwind sails. And what's our fast speed is 13.5 in that, and it's all 20. Yeah, 13.5 in a Catalina 445, which is fun.
There's a question from Stingray. Were those kites, and I think he means the kites on the 12, were they asymmetric? And the answer is no. They were star cut. They were flat. They had some close reaching star cut kites, right?
Yeah, I think you can put maybe a blooper is what people might call them. They might have a reacher on those things. But I think the class rule at the time is you couldn't have your pole extend for forward for a prolonged period of time. So very difficult to run one.
Did they have bloopers on a 12? I don't think so.
I don't think so. And it was because you couldn't put the post forward.
Maybe. Graham Sweeney is saying officers never go forward of the mast. I always thought it was officers or owners in this case. Owners never go forward of the binnacle. You don't go forward of the wheel on our 50-footer.
Yeah, I don't listen and take advice very well. And instead of training people to do things the right way, I'm the type of guy, I'll just do it myself.
You're like Julia. Julia's impossible to deal with because she won't delegate. I say, Julie, let me do that. I'll take care of that. No. Julia, just tell me what to do. I don't have a clue what I'm doing. And I'm talking about tech stuff. She knows so much tech stuff. Okay, let's carry on here and tell us about the Ministry of Sailing, established almost 2 years ago now, and you sponsored a show or two here for us, for which we're grateful. But this show is sponsored only by Gillette. Wait until you see Emmett's beard.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it's fabulous. No, it's not. We're sponsored today by the Fosey. But tell us about the Ministry of Sailing.
So I'm fortunate to be surrounded by some great sailors, and we continue to work on sailing problems. You had us on the show talking about rescue swimming, and we wrote that article about maybe it's time to rethink about sending another person in. We're almost finished with a curriculum to start training that and a certification on that. But what really happened was a bunch of us pro sailors got together during COVID and just thought, how do we work some synergy together? We enjoy sailing together. Let's start working together and see what we can do to give people really good racing and sailing experiences. Let's see if we can train people. Let's see if we could solve some problems that we're observing. And let's work together because we're not sailing together. Let's try to find more time to move together. So we have now offices in London. We have offices in representatives in Europe. We have down in the Virgin Islands, we got a representative. We got representatives in New Zealand and Australia now. And we're working on giving people training experiences on their own boats or getting people training experience for offshore racing on some really high performance boats. Or even one of our guys is a consultant with NASA. So we have really some top line really some top line safety discussions going on there. But most importantly, his wife is a NASA nutritionist. And so she's working alongside us for offshore racing. And imagine getting a nutritionist that works for NASA, like putting people up to space forever, and talking about what protein, what food, and packaging, and how much trash you can develop, and bringing that on top of your boat. So we're just putting.
So it's a private network. It's in some ways what U.S. sailing might aspire to be, or some ways that maybe Storm Trisol or the CCA, even, or some other clubs. It's really a group of your buddies and beyond that has morphed into a private network that anyone's welcome to join up with, right?
Absolutely right. And one of the things that we've just recently discovered, and a problem I've been working on for many years now. And now my background, besides sailing, is interjecting myself into world problems for organizations that might be experiencing a crisis. I've been to 120 countries. I provide assistance when things go wrong. So I've been exposed to the United Nations crisis response system. I worked alongside of that. I've created many organizations' crisis response, and I've done a lot of hostage kidnapping response and bringing people back for negotiations. And so I've had exposure around the most vulnerable people in the world and what their needs are. And one of the number one needs after disaster is shelter. And so I'm looking at these blue tarps from around the world, and I'm fortunate that I met my wife in Haiti responding to the Haiti earthquake. That's the first time we ran into each other. But I'm walking through areas of where there's 100,000 people who most fortunately have passed away, and they have no houses, and we can't get shelter there. Now, these blue plastic tarps that you're seeing there are really nice, all right, because they provide shelter immediately, and shelter can save lives. But in the most vulnerable communities, what we're finding is often these shelters are going to be on top of their roofs for years at a time, maybe 2 years, maybe even 3 years. You'll see some of those blue tarps in some areas. If you go back to New Orleans right now, you will still see remnants of those blue tarps.
From the most recent hurricane, not from Katrina, I hope.
Oh no, even from Katrina.
Really?
Correct. Yeah. You'll still see some of them. Even in the Caribbean, in St. Martin, you're still seeing some blue tarps in some of these areas. All right. So, as you know, sales are stronger, and sales last longer. And so we've developed a relationship now in our local community here that if people drop off their sales at our designated points, the Ministry of Sailing will distribute those sales to organizations that do disaster relief, who will then store those sales and then distribute those sales to those people that are most in need. Particularly what's happened in Kentucky right now. We have some sales on the way there right now.
Because of the recent, for those outside the U.S. may not know, we just had a horrific string of tornadoes. I guess they were tornadoes, and not just little ones like we get in Michigan, or we get every now and get a big one.
126 miles long.
But long, and whether it was one or several, but long strings, and it killed a lot of people and tore up a lot of area of the state of Kentucky and southern Illinois.
And that's one of our poorest areas in the country. The people who've lost their roofs in these homes don't have the means to rebuild a house, to rebuild the home, and they probably don't even have insurance to cover the home as well. And so these people are the ones who we're targeting with our relationships with our disaster relief companies that we're dealing with. And so the whole concept is, don't throw your sales in the dumps, and find a place to place your sale. And if it's giving it to a person who can actually make a wallet or a bag out of it or a belt, good for you. But there's other people that might be more vulnerable that might have an opportunity that your sale can actually save a life. And so what we've done is we have the connections all throughout the United States now, and that's what I've been working on for the last 2 months, of making these connections that if people want to put their sales in a particular location, I can ensure that those sales get picked up, stored, and then distributed to the people that might be in most need. And what's really neat about it is you can use just concrete nails to put a seam together, and it'll work on most of the sail cloths and materials that you have.
What is this photo from? Because you sent this to me as well.
So that's an organization who just took some sailcloth material, and they did a test for us out in Florida. after a hurricane. And so that is covered with a sailcloth material. As a whole house, what they did, it's kind of like a shrink wrap. So that was what really started turning this on. That organization was able to do an entire house on that with shrink wrap. And so it was from that really, brought us forward of, hey, why are you using the shrink wrap when we can probably use sails? And that's what's really neat about it, is the ability to take your sails and last a lot longer on people that might be most vulnerable.
So if somebody has sails, and there's a lot of comments here, God bless the Ministry of Sailing. That's amazing. Stingray is saying. Julie Aarons has checked in from Cleveland. Hi, Julie. Alberto Marici checking in from Italy. Hi, Alberto.
That's great.
Ken Saban from Toledo. Alan Long, cool idea.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to donate sailcloth so that you can get it to the right people, do they pay for the shipping? Do you pay for the shipping to get a bag of sails to where? How do they do that?
Well, this is all volunteer network right now. So pretty much if they just contact us, we will put the local chapter that does a disaster relief there. But at the same time, I want people to start working locally. Go to your county FEMA. Understand how they're doing the blue plastic tarps, because with our supply chain issues right now, most of these blue tarps are made in this country. They're stuck somewhere else in China. So they actually ran out of tarps for Kentucky this year in the Kentucky FEMA. So you need to start developing, and I could help organizations and I could help individuals establish these local networks on how they can start putting their local FEMAs in place with their local fire departments, their local Red Crosses, to start storing these, because every FEMA department for every state is storing materials already in preparation for a response.
And that's a great idea. I love to hear that, because as a de Tocquevillian, everybody knows that I'm an anti-centralist. I love decentralization in governments. I've seen centralized governments fail and failing in Brussels and in Washington, D.C. So the idea of giving this stuff out to your local, whether it's FEMA, we call the Federal Emergency Management Agency. What's that called?
Yeah, FEMA, the Federal Emergency.
And then the states here in the U.S. have that, but there's no reason why the states in Australia or the regions in any country anywhere in the world couldn't collect sails to be used for the same purpose. Are there any problems, anything to watch out for that don't particularly work with sails?
Not really. They work great, because what they'll do is they'll take a sail, or if a house has lost its roof, and they'll put the sail on, and then the carpenters will come back on top and put furring strips on top of it on the joists to keep it down. And so they'll just screw right over the top of it into the existing joists. What's nice about the Dacron sails and what's nice about the carbon fiber sails is they're even lasting longer than those blue tarps, and they can take a higher wind speed than the blue tarps as well. So if another storm comes back to back, you have a more permanent shelter, or not permanent, a more stable shelter for individuals that might have lost their roofs.
That's really terrific.
Yeah, give us. I don't have your contact information in the lower third. Julia, you want to type this in as a comment, or maybe Stingray?
It's easy. Sail at ministryofsailing.com.
SAIL.
Yep.
Somebody can type that in, or I can't even. Sail at
ministryofsailing.com.
Ministryofsailing.com. Okay. There it is.
Now we've also come up with, I think, a way to help really promote sustainability for the individual as well. And, I have a really great art design team. And we came up with the logo, the Ministry of Sailing logo. And people ask us a lot of times, well, Ministry of Sailing, if they see the truck, if they see our shirts, they're like, are you religious? And our answer is, well, of course. Sailing is I think the Brits understand Ministry of Sailing very well, and it's nice that we're registered as Ministry of Sailing in the United Kingdom. And we have a great logistics, Jack Parnell, UN security person, logistics guy, fantastic security mind. He's running our show in the United Kingdom. We've got a couple fast boats that are there for, that are able to help in aiding the community. And we also have Team Rubicon, who has a lot of interest in the United Kingdom as well. And we also have a Quantum, in the UK Red Cross. Quantum Sales in Annapolis will take your sales, and we'll have a direct pickup for them. And what we're trying to do is take the individual responsibilities of manufacturers to develop these relationships as well. If you have like if you go to a location and you buy a hazardous material, the law in the United States is if you're selling that hazardous material, you have to take that hazardous material back. Now that doesn't include sales right now, but it would be great that if manufacturers started taking these sales, we can start distributing those sales back out into the most vulnerable areas.
Nice. Are you the Pope of this ministry? Are you the right Reverend? What's your?
Well, I would refer to myself as the Prime Minister of Sailing, and it's only because I'm the first to say
that. I'll note that. Yeah.
Well, we met actually. You contacted me. You were watching the show before you were on the show, and Julie Ahrens is saying, "What a wonderful idea! Let's put word out on Scuttlebutt, send mass emails to yacht clubs all over the U.S. and Europe." Well, I think that's the right thing to do, Julie, for sure. It's a first step, and bravo Zulu to you, John. But the other thing is that just so people understand, you're not some half-baked fly-by-night guy. You're a real honest-to-God sailor, of course, who's a FOSI, who's been on the show, and you were developing, and I guess still are developing, a maybe better approach to man overboard rescue, to getting people back on. And we covered that in a previous show and also on the website when I was active with Sailing Illustrated, keeping the website running. So it's still there, in fact, that article that we wrote. But more importantly, we met you. I met you when you were telling us, helping me off kind of the record, since you have been in a lot of troubled spots. You've gone in as a consultant and you've been helping to rescue hostages, is what I gather. You couldn't really talk about it too much, probably still can't.
Well, I can talk about it. I don't care.
You can. But then I know when there were certain problems in the sport, we can talk about it. Notably, the ocean race, when we lost somebody overboard, you knew what was going on before the race organizers knew what was going on, or before the race organizers let on what was going on, because you were talking to this intergovernmental security committee.
I am. Yeah. Providing a response and rescue is something I've been doing for a very long time. I used to work for the insurance companies when there would be a piracy, and a company I worked for probably took care of half of the piracies that were happening in Somalia at the time. So we built some really great techniques. We don't necessarily rescue. It's more we advise people on how to recover their people through negotiations and tactics.
What is the worst place you've been in the world?
The worst place I've been in the world? That's easy. There's a place called Woodfield Mall in Schaumburg, Illinois. A place called John's Garage. No. I think the worst place would have to be Chad by far. Chad is the worst place anybody wants to find themselves in the world. Don't go there. Well, you can go there if you'd like, but call me first.
And what was that? Was that a hostage rescue situation, or?
Oh no, I was just doing some risk and security assessments, and it's just Chad was in a triangle war between it was Chad, it was Sudan, and Libya back in the 80s. The Toyota Wars. CIA was fighting a lot of stuff in there, but it hasn't changed a bit. There's minerals in there. The French Foreign Legion has their own base there still. It is just the most miserable place in the planet anybody would want to go there. Don't go there. There's no water. But what's nice about it is you can take a vacation and just go across the bridge to Cameroon, and then you're fine.
Yemen, Somalia?
I've been to Yemen. I've been to Somalia. I've been to all the Stanley brothers, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan.
Okay, well, back to the Ministry of Sailing. This chart, I think we should address.
Yeah. This is I think something that everybody can do, and if you commit to this right now and you come to our website, we're going to send you some Ministry of Sailing stickers. But I think instead of talking about sustainability, people have to write it in their policies and plans. So that if people were to commit and send us these 5 things, whether it's their individual racing boat, their individual team, if it's your yacht club, if it's a regatta, if you commit to these 5 things, we're going to embrace you as a member of the Ministry of Sailing and send you some of our cool swag. All right. So what we have is, I think, in order to have a sustainable operation, these are the 5 things you have to shoot for. The number one is, you have to have plans and policies. You can't be sustainable without planning it. I think the other thing that you have to do is you have to commit resources to address that sustainability. Sometimes that resource means writing a check or putting somebody else in response of it, and that's number 3. What is the human resource management behind that third one? Putting people behind there. I think the other one, which we add, is that accountability. So if you send us what your plans are and demonstrate these things of accountability to the Ministry of Sailing, we're going to certify you as the Ministry of Sailing certified for sustainability. So we're going to send you a certificate. We're going to let you use our logo, and this is what it really means. That accountability is mean you're allowing someone to look at what you've done to say, yes, you're meeting what these 5 goals are. But I think the most important one is understanding that we can't do it alone. You can't do sustainability by yourself. You can't be just your boat, but you have to work within a sense of community. And that's why it's like you want to work within your yacht club. You want to work within your yacht yard. You want to work with other people just to make the smallest difference you can. And then when a lot of people do that, it becomes contagious. It means like if you're Quantum or if you're North Sales, that you work together on these processes of what sustainability looks like inside. So any organization, if they want to show us what they've done and commit to these 5 things, yeah, we'll send you some neat logos and stuff and just apply it, and we'll get the stuff right out to you. We'd be more than happy to help consult and put people together to help you drive these programs as well. But I think the key is taking the personal responsibility, putting the resources behind it, putting people in charge of it, and then finding ways, to make a difference in keeping the plastics out of the water. And then helping those people that are most vulnerable in the world as well.
That's when you say sustainable, you're not talking about financial independence necessarily. You're talking about conducting yourself, your boat, your yacht club, your event in a way that is environmentally friendly and aggressively so, right?
Yeah. I'm saying be a leader. I mean, everybody has a chance and opportunity to be a leader when it comes to what you're doing with the plastics and what you're doing with how you're dealing with your marina. I mean, for me, it comes with before people step on the boat, it's like, hey, don't bring a plastic thing. I've got the boat fully stocked. I mean, we had to design a Yeti catcher in the back of the boat because we have an open transom, and it got kind of expensive every time you hit a wave to lose a Yeti off the back of the boat. So we got a Yeti catcher now. But it comes in different ways you can do things on that, and understanding the waste and where it goes in the world. And I think the only way I could really underline to understand what that be is, in my travels, Tom, we were talking about, I've been in South Sudan in their capital called Juba, and there's a great camp, an Apex camp, a nice secure place right on the water of the Nile River in the middle of South Sudan. And you can sit there and have your cup of coffee in the morning, and you can absolutely be disgusted by the amount of plastics in the middle of Sudan that are working their way up the Nile all the way up to Egypt. It's plastic everywhere. When I was in Ethiopia 2 years ago, I'm driving in a dirt road way off in an area, and they're building a new road, and I'm just sitting in the passenger seat, and I'm seeing how long I can count before I see another piece of plastic. And we're doing it probably 55, 60 miles per hour in the middle of Sudan on a desert road, or in the middle of Ethiopia on a desert road. The biggest number I got to was 10 seconds before I saw another piece of plastic stuck on the side of the road. And that was for over 100 miles.
What about microplastics?
Yeah, well, then that goes to microplastics. So exactly. So that's exactly what we're talking about when it comes to sustainability. If I can be in the middle of Africa where there's civilization is sparse, and the biggest number I can count to is 10 seconds before I see plastic sitting on the side of the road,
we got a problem.
I think that's a really good image people need to remember, or when they're going second uses on plastics and what it can do to the environment.
What are good examples of sustainability going on in the sport right now? Who's doing a good job, or if you care to mention who's not doing a good job?
Well, I think the ocean race is really taking this under their wings. I think there's some great boats on there. You can't talk about sustainability these days without 11 racing as well. I mean, they're really putting a big emphasis on it. I think most of the regattas you're seeing, Sail GP, they're doing the cleanups, which is absolutely fantastic. I think anybody who's focusing on youth and expanding the sailing experience that we have in the world is bringing in the same message. And I think those are the people that are really seeing the future and working towards it.
Okay, fascinating stuff is what Victor Felice is saying down in Arizona. Victor, who's from Malta, who's our resident guru in Arizona and beyond. He also gets out to the coast in SoCal. Blake Middleton is saying, cheers from the land of 10,000 frozen lakes from up where you grew up. He's in Minnesota, but you grew up at Lake Geneva. We're going to talk about ice boats in a minute.
Yeah, he's already ice boating up there.
Where I finally sailed a DN Sunday, he said, after a 40-year break from DNs. Exactly. Blake, what a great guy he is. Struggling a bit with his MS, but he keeps coming back strong. Bravo Zulu to you too, Blake. Stingray asking, what is a Yeti catcher? I think you need to describe that in a little more detail.
It's a fishing net.
So well, tell everybody what a Yeti is in case they don't know. It's a high-end.
It's stuck in the net.
Well, tell them a Yeti. What Yeti is a manufacturer of high-end. Yeah, exactly. Coffee mugs and bags and what's the symbol on there? What's the formula? There's a formula on there.
My team's name, velocity.
Equals distance over time. With the devil's fork in that. Why the devil's fork?
No, that's Poseidon's good luck charm.
Oh, I should have known. John Emmett, Oman had a world record-breaking beach clean. Yes, they did. And Oman Sail is also doing a terrific job on a lot of fronts. Charlie Hart. Hello, Charles. Commodore Hart. Past Commodore, Steam Past Commodore St. Francis on Royal Court Yacht Club. I wonder what that means. Charlie, give us some more on that. John Mangino, nice to see you on, as it is all of you. Well, let's, I got one more slide here, Captain Jack. Maybe I'll play this slide and you can tell us about your truck, and it looks like you're on the road here.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, that's a support we were doing. So
what is this? What is this big fancy trailer? Looks like a horse trailer.
That's exactly what it is. That's filled with sales.
Wow.
Filled with sales. And we were doing logistics for the Annapolis to Newport. And what's really nice about it is we do a consolidated freight. So for the teams that are going to put all their sales on, or their delivery sales, we'll move them forward as a consolidated freight. So instead of them spending $1 here or $100 on a whatever, pretty much we know what the load's going to be, and then you pay what the cost is going to be. So it'll be somewhere between $100 and maybe $25, depending on how many teams come together. But we'll move all their gear together, and that's what we've been doing.
Well, there must be a way to get the sailmakers involved as well on the local sail offs all around.
So we got Annapolis working really nice with us right now, the Quantum in Annapolis. As a matter of fact, if you're in the southern Annapolis area, you could just drop your sails off at the Quantum trailer that's at Harrington Harbor North. You can drop your sails off there, and they will get to Kentucky, and they will get to the aid locations that we're working with there.
Great. Anything else? Last word on this before we move ahead?
I'm good, man. That's awesome.
No, we appreciate it. It's a great idea, isn't it, Julia? Mm-hmm. Any other comments here? Devil's Fork, Marcos Weinstein, our mate, is making fun of me. Well, okay. But they should celebrate the amazing performance of the female kite surfer from Israel. You're talking about Oman. Yeah, fat chance, John Emmett. Robert Hoffman, Marcos always with the jokes. The Grinch, John Mangino is saying, was a Yeti catcher.
Yeah, you like that.
That was good. That was clever. Okay, well, let's carry on here and go to, I don't think there's any other comments, so we'll move forward in the show to John. Are you going to stay or are you going to leave us?
I'll stay.
Great. What is ex-altar boy working on my he's on altar boy. He wants to be. This is Victor Felice. Alan Long says, I'll be talking to my sailmaker. And Ken Saban just coming in from outside, and it's snowing in Toledo as well. So Toledo and Michigan, it sounds like it's snowy there, at least my mother said. So let's go to our next segment, which is the celebrated John Emmett Report. Today from the Southampton Football Club Stadium, St. Mary's Stadium in Southampton, where he went to a football game. So not only we talked about American gridiron football, we're talking about soccer football. And, of course, we do tend to talk about Formula One on here, don't we, Julia?
Yes.
And John is there with his mother and filed this report.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. I'm here, believe it or not, at a football match. Trying to do this quite quickly because the band is about to launch into full throw. I don't think it's something I've seen at a sailing event, having a live band in the background, so I do hope you can hear me. But yeah, I often get accused of being a one-trick polie, and it's maybe not a bad thing that pretty much all I do and think about is sail, either from a power boat or on a boat myself. I actually did a little bit of sailing yesterday in a huge multi-class event, handicap, very light wind, so full of energy now. And yeah, going to go watch Southampton play. That's where Lily studied, Southampton University. So this background noise I have absolutely no control over. So I hope you have a great show and see you all later.
Marching bands are great. What's wrong with marching bands? And whether it's in sailing or in American football or British football, soccer, and I think I even recognize the song they were playing. That's our Fozy Olympic coach, John Emmett, who puts I mean, he's just become a real contributor. Happy New Year to you, John. And this segment is not sponsored
By Gillette.
by Gillette. A footy match, Gordon Smith.
Tom, you know why there's such confusion between American football and the British football and the rest of the world, right?
No.
Well, American football was started by Harvard and Yale. They screw everything else up. Might as well screw that up.
Well, how about, I mean, it's not just soccer and American football, and there's also rugby. Were you ever a rugby player?
Oh, gosh, no. They don't wear weapons.
Rugby.
That's the thing. I was always taught that you know they're like, oh, American football, you guys wear padding. It's like, these are weapons.
Well, they used to be before they changed the rules. And you were talking about that in the tech check about, how they changed the tackling rules. You used to be able to tackle head first into somebody, and it was called spearing, and it could hurt that person, badly, but it could also hurt you. I mean, it could hurt you in the compression of the neck and concussion and so on.
Oh, I was fortunate. I had some of the best high school football coaches and the best college football coaches that are around. And I remember my high school coaches were like, put your face in the guy's, right in the chest. Face right in the guy's chest. It's like, okay, coach. One coach was like, don't blink. I'm going to see if you blink.
But, I mean, everybody says, I won't repeat it, nasty things about soccer players being light in their loafers and so on. But football, rugby, the rugby players are the ones that look down on American football and all the equipment. They say, well, we're tougher than you guys, and we don't have that equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like to get in a fight with Australians. It's usually losing case.
Well, I'm a hockey player, and we think all of you are wimps. So hockey's a really tough sport. Replying to James, let's see, James Bland up there saying, Yeti catcher sounds like something you do at closing time in a bar. John's cheeks, Stingray saying, John's cheeks match his collar.
Yeah, pink.
Well, no, they're kind of fuzzy.
Yeah.
That's true. I hadn't noticed that. J. Frederick Bland, the reply from Alan Long, or in northern India. Yeah, that's a point. A footy match, we said. What is it about Wisconsin, Minnesota? All three FBI agents I have known were from around there. What's that, I wonder?
FBI agents come from the
Wisconsin and Minnesota.
Yeah.
That's good. Ken Saban is saying rugby is nuts. Well, that's not what we were always told. I played a little bit of fraternity or dormitory type club rugby, and they always told us to play rugby you had to have leather balls. Shake your finger if you want. Now, John Emmett, back to John, Julia. Look at this. Mm-hmm. I put this in for you. There is John being a good son because he took his mom, Marilyn, to the game.
Oh, that's great.
Isn't that nice? He's there. Yeah. Lily's, of course, in Beijing. She's there getting ready for the Winter Olympics to do the commentary for one of the Chinese networks, I guess, and a celebrated athlete that she is gold medalist. But look at this photo. This is Emmett from 10 years ago.
Tiananmen Chair.
Yep, Tiananmen Square. And that's 10 years ago this week. And I've plucked this off his Facebook page. He is there, of course, with his now wife, then his mentee. He was coaching Lily Lily Zhu on the right, and a mutual friend of theirs whose name is Eco. And that from John's Facebook page. Thanks, John Emmett. Happy New Year to you and to Lily and to everybody. And finally, Emmett said this just before I went to air. He, he said, the Fozy will like this. He said, I just left the stadium. Think I definitely prefer sailing. Off to the pub. Happy New Year to all. So nice sentiment there from John Emmett. Okay, shall we, any comments about any more from you, John or Julia, on all of that? Robert Hoffman's checking in saying, cheers from Annapolis. Gordon Smith, soccer is a gentleman's game played by hooligans, and rugby is a hooligan's game played by gentlemen.
Oh, that's interesting. That's a nice
Playing rugby is like distance sailing in a 12-meter, Alan Long is saying.
Yeah, he's right. I want to say, hey, Robert, how are you? Robert Hoffman. I'm staying away from all the jokes about the balls, by the way.
Okay, we'll look into the Cup for a minute, and I'm pleased to report for our AC37 Cup date, I was told by a source this morning, quote, NZL is shut down for the holidays, so there is no news from any of these gentlemen while they're all on holiday, including, of course, Mark Dunphy, Jim Farmer, and Grant Dalton. There is several of you have asked what the latest is on this gentleman. We told you about Sir Edmund Thomas, the Kiwi judge, the prominent retired judge, who said he will sue. He will go to the High Court in New Zealand, not if the venue goes to Saudi Arabia. He will go if it goes offshore. He will take Team New Zealand and the squadron to court. And I hear he's a tough guy and a smart guy. So I God forbid that this becomes a court issue down there, but it looks like it may, in fact, sadly, become that if, in fact, the venue is not Auckland. I still hold hope for it to be Auckland. I'm told by any number of you saying there's no chance it's going to be in Auckland. It's going to be offshore.
I keep hearing that, too, and it's just hard to believe.
It is hard to believe. Well, we'll see what Sir Edmund Thomas, Ted is he's, I think. No, Ted, he's got another name. We'll see. Julia, what else? Should we look at comments again? Tom, are you not going to tell us what Richard Gladwell had to say about things at the Zoom meeting? I should have pulled some of that. That's a good idea. Gladwell came on during the Zoom meeting when we did a watch party for the start of and that, by the way, was a lot of fun.
It was.
It was a lot of fun. There weren't a lot of people on, as they say, 30, 40 people, 50 people maybe. But no, I'm not going to say more than, that was kind of done in private, and I don't want to go here live in front of everybody, Gordon. But if you want to paraphrase it, please do paraphrase it, Gordon, here in a comment. Luca Craig, Talking Coaches, John Emmett, just listened to Shirley Robertson's excellent latest podcast on sailing coaches, 2 parts. Yes, I saw that she had on Philippe Presti, who has been Jimmy Spithill's coach for a long time. Big news, Jody Shields is saying he has a one here's coming with some AC signings. Yes, Jody, I think I know what you're talking about, but I am not at liberty to say anything, so I shall not. Julie Aarons saying that he is a former partner, that is the judge, to Jim Farmer, no surprise. Replying to Jody Shields, Slingsby, just saying, Stingray is saying. What about yesterday's article in The Race? David James, I don't know what that article was. Put us a comment or a link to it, and we'll have a quick look. Okay, it's time now for Correct or Croutonic.
Oh, yeah.
And this is not from a sailing magazine where I found this, but it came to my attention, and not from Stingray, who sends me lots of different things, as do many of the Fozy, Mark Husted especially. This is from the Rob Report a couple days ago. This bonkers headline, this bonkers foiling kite pod aims to smash the sailing speed record. Sirocco, it's spelled differently than the wind. Moonshot 1 combines technology in an innovative way that extends beyond speed and into lowering the world's carbon footprint. So talk about sustainability, at least, John, that's a possibility here. Let's look at this article. This is what this beast is supposedly going to look like. They've got a scale model of it. It's not full model scaled up yet. And the Rob Report article said a French startup doesn't want to just beat the current speed record for a sailboat. It wants to crush it. Sirocco, I don't know, launched by a world record kite surfing holder and tech veteran, says its boat Moonshot 1 plans to pass the 80 knot mark, or just a hair over 92 miles an hour, in the next year. This is an article from a couple days ago. That may not sound like much compared to an airplane or even a car, but it's the maritime equivalent of breaking the sound barrier for a sailing vessel, which relies only on wind, sails, and the design of the hull. The current record holder is Paul Larson, our longtime friend, who reached 55.32 knots, 63, almost 64 miles per hour, on his Vestas Sail Rocket 2 in November 2012. Nice date there, Julia, November 24th.
Mm-hmm.
During a run on the extremely windy Walvis Bay in Namibia. So this is another, I don't know if this is an artist rendition. I guess it is, an artist rendition of the craft. As I say, they do have a scale model running. Moonshot 1 actually flies its pod a few feet above the surface using foils to keep it grounded to the water and kites that provide the propulsion. The pilots in the pod will have to control the kite and foil to avoid crashes at dangerous speeds.
I would think so.
No shiza. But the main hurdle, and all you techies will enjoy this, the main hurdle the designers have faced is mastering the cavitation, the air bubbles that build up as the foils move faster, at speeds that no sailing vessel has ever reached. America's Cup racing vessels have used foils for about 5 years to attain lightning fast water speeds, but they tweak the shapes continuously to minimize cavitation. Quote, the big challenge is finding a foil shape that works at both high speed and low speeds, says this guy, how do you pronounce that, Julie, in French? Monchiel.
Yeah.
Our goal,
Monchiel.
he's the guy behind the project. Our goal is to take advantage of the cavitation and not, like most racing sailboats, fight against it. Breaking the record, the speed record will take another year, says, I won't even try that. Kazergay? Sirocco now has a third scale radio controlled model. It's testing with different foil and kite shapes. Quote, once we can manage the kite sail as a propulsive force, he says, quote, it'll be time for the full scale model. The team will be doing its testing just offshore of Marseille. Marseille is going to be a busy place with the Olympics coming up, where it is based. Instead of using the Saharan Sirocco wind, which is named after, to power Moonshot 1, the Mistral, another infamous wind blowing into the Med from the Alps, could help the boat smash the record. So there it is. And I ask you, are these gentlemen, and any ladies involved, with their yacht, is that a yacht? Sirocco, are they correct or croutonic? Will they ever break this speed record and approach anything like 80 knots? Over to you, John Schafer. What do you think?
Well, I have two observations on that. Cavitation, I think, has been cured by us Wisconsin and Northwestern guys who sail on ice. Ice boats don't have cavitation. And I think we're going faster than 90 miles per hour already. So,
yeah, a lot of us have gone faster than 100 on a
yeah, and
scary. I had to change my underpants when I.
Yeah, I named correctly Moonshot because everything breaks out and they get that foil out of the water. They're going to the moon.
Good name.
That's going to be gone.
Well, is it going to work?
No. The reason they're working on the radio controlled models is they can't find a sailor to get inside of it.
I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is the cavitation issue, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think the forces from cavitation is going to cause things to break. Look at the forces that thing is going to be.
Well, let's look at the comments. Gordon Smith says, love it. I assume he's replying to this. J. Frederick Bland down in Texas. By the way, your boat's looking great, James. We're watching that build on your Facebook page. He says this is croutonic. Blake Middleton agrees, the ice boater that he is, and scow sailor from up in scow country in Minnesota. Interesting, but croutonic. Graham Sweeney says, I don't buy into it. Pedro, foiling sailor, who is a foiling expert down in Sydney, in Oz, says, is Moonshot 1 going to be the prototype for the next America's Cup class for a C-39?
Yep. Blake's already been sailing over 100, so Blake did it in Lake Geneva.
Yeah, no doubt. Stingray, however, says it's correct so long as their foil controls will allow them to morph properly, like what fighter jet. Not remember, Stingray is a code jockey. He's a retired code guy at Boeing, a very bright guy. He knows a lot about this stuff, like what fighter jet wings do when they pass through the sound barrier.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, well, in fact, this article referred to, this is like, I think maybe I even read it, going through the sound barrier for sailing. I'm not quite sure.
Mm-hmm.
Lake Middleton, I did over 100 ice boating a few decades ago with Buddy Malgus on Lake Geneva. Alan Long, I'm all for it, but I'm not sure if it's either correct or Crutonic. Ken Saban, I sailed my Renegade 70, scared me to death. No, it didn't.
That's the reason ice boaters always have brown pants on Carhartt.
Well, the Renegade 70, that's one of the stern. That's a stern steering ice boat.
Yeah,
I think it is. So Ken Saban, who lives on Lake Erie,
I think so.
Ohio. Luca Craig, I think hyperventilating foil design as used on speedboats is an area they will be looking at, but apparently no good at low speeds. Interesting point. So Stingray is about the only one who thinks it's correct, back there on one of his earlier comments. And I don't know. We shall see. We'll follow that. Are we correct or Crutonic for following that, Julia? Should we follow that story?
If it comes up again.
Well, it will come up. I mean, now that you all are aware, maybe some of you were before, but Stingray will be sending me links to it every other day, and others are following it.
I'm following up with the David James question about the F1, and it's a very long.
Is it Formula One?
Yes, and what the Mercedes engineers will be contributing to America's Cup, and there are several explanations of it. But David has kindly put the link on, and I will not endeavor to.
Inside Mercedes bid to take its F1 genius onto the water. Good article.
Mm-hmm.
As our writers continue to pick their highlights of races of the races, meaning this magazine website, 2021 content, F1 writer Ed Straw, I don't know Ed Straw, 2 Ds, EDD, picks out his feature that highlighted how Mercedes' efforts to transfer its F1 genius to sailing. This is perhaps a self-indulgent choice, but the chance to look at Formula One team from a different perspective and understand how its expertise and facilities could be applied to a form of sporting competition that was relatively unfamiliar was fascinating. Okay, David James, thank you for that.
Yeah, and it's long.
It's long, but we will. There's the link. Thank you for that. It's back up higher in the comments, and I commend that to you.
Tom, what's interesting is seeing the racing teams, the F1 teams getting into the America's Cup is interesting to me because, being at the boat show this year at Indianapolis, I was looking at some Bluetooth load sensors that are very affordable and for anybody's boat now. So instead of the load pins that you have to keep resetting, a company's got these load sensors that are out there now, which are amazing. You can put anywhere on your vessel. They can replace a turnbuckle, or they can go in line, and you can just tie them in. And they run on Bluetooth, and you can actually see them. So for the average everyday sailor, your ability to see what the loads are turning into the same type of technology that you're seeing in F1 now.
Yeah.
And so seeing those advances come down to everyday sailor, I mean, it's going to be an amazing, I think, future that we have for racing, and even boats like mine. The 2 air conditioners with a gen set. You're seeing performance advances.
Yeah, and this is a comment from David James, apropos what you were just saying. I don't want to lose the comment. James Allison says, quote, but probably areas which are harder for America's Cup teams to do, but are the meat and drink of an F1 team, are the systems that we have in place to know if you want to put a hydraulic pipe down a certain length of something, how far away you have to keep all the other things so it doesn't fret on the pipe, and how often down the pipe, you need to support it so it doesn't bounce around too much. You just see that at the top of that quote. I'm reading up further.
Yeah.
So that's apropos what you were saying, I think, or at least connected to it. Interesting. We'll see that. We'll follow that article. Thank you, David James, as always. Appreciate that very much. And I think at this point, unless there's any other comments, we'll go to Whiskey Tango Foxtrot and start to wrap this up. Let's see these comments here. Philip Freeman, yeah, UCLA said it won't play tonight because of COVID concerns. I know that the Michigan hockey team has bowed out of a tournament, the Great Lakes Invitational, which is a great tournament between Midwestern teams this time of year, because of COVID, and some of these bowl games are not happening. Bill Wingrove says, late to the show over at Mom's with one of the brothers, his side of the family. Nice, Bill. That's what you should be doing. Sail, man. Jody Shields, yes. Howard Boston, Ken Saban is saying, Howard Boston started the Boston Yacht Sale Company in Mount Clemens, Michigan, 60 or 70 years ago. Skippy Boston, who I think just passed away, ran it, his son. Howard Boston told us once that an ice boat sails over 60, they'll blow up. He'd be so impressed today. That's a good point. Luca Craig, I meant superventilation, not hyper. Just read an article on it, but don't fully understand it. Well, Luca, it's up to you and Stingray and others to keep us posted on this superventilation topic and maybe this speed record. Thank you for that. Victor Felice, speaking about fast, can't post a pic here, but sent to your FB Messenger. Okay, I'm not sure what that's about. Probably a dirty joke, knowing Victor. I'm teasing. Graham Sweeney, Moonshot will inevitably be tripped up by its own red herring. It's a coop. Doloon. Oh, the Fozy are clever. Everybody's relaxed this week, including us. Load sensors are cool but affordable. Bluetooth sail-shape sensors are going to be amazing, too. Yes, Stingray, that's happening, as we know. Ken Saban, I am so happy to have slowed down so I can listen to you crazy people. So they canceled the Holiday Bowl. Oh, they did. The Holiday Bowl in San Diego, which was Philip Freeman was the UCLA, and remind me who the other team was.
6 hours notice.
6 hours. Yeah, it's tough. And we, as I said at the top of the show, Julia, we have canceled our Beach Street Yacht Club New Year's Day brunch here, our potluck, because of, what's the point? Even though we're double vaxxed and boosted, there's just so much transmissibility and there's so much breakthrough that I do. Have you been boosted? What's your situation, John? Are you boosted and double vaxxed, of course? And
yeah, I'm double vaxxed and boosted.
What's your take on all this?
Oh, get sick, get healthy, do whatever you can, but get boosted and just listen to what the guidance said. You're scientists. Just don't make it political.
Yeah, exactly. And I also am a firm believer in what the Australian Prime Minister said a few days ago. Finally, they seem to have come around and saying, it's got to become personal responsibility instead of mandates and lockdowns. And when the PM said that, I think, and even President Biden said the other day here, he said, it's the state's response. And everybody, I about fell off my chair because I've been saying this since the day one, being the Tocquevillian that I am. He said, it's the state's responsibility, not the federal government's, like he'd done a 180-degree flip-flop. But no, I think that's right. We all, and it goes beyond the state. We got to take personal responsibility, absolutely, Julia, like us not having this bloody party on.
Yeah.
And if you're outdoors, as Andrew McIrvin has been telling us for the better part of 2 years now, outdoors, and except I don't even want to walk in the slipstream of people on a sidewalk now who are not masked, even if they're masked.
For years, Tom, even before COVID hit, when we were doing offshore sailing on our team, the night or 2 nights before, I'm telling people, if you think you have a cold or you're sick, I have a replacement. Do not get on the boat sick.
Exactly.
Personal
responsibility.
And responsibility. I mean, you have to be that way as sailors. You got to lead.
Absolutely right. You agree, right, Julia?
Absolutely.
Take personal responsibility for yourself and your friends and family. And that's why, we've gotten some criticism here, before I go back to the comments, for us talking about COVID. But I feel like it's a personal responsibility to be informed, inform our friends and family. And we were on this way before.
Because it
even
does
the local
affect our
governments
sport very directly.
And it does. It affects all of us. And thanks again to Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin.
Yeah.
Where's this comment? Gordon Smith got my booster this afternoon. Good, Bravo Zulu. Thank you for that. Listen to the scientists indeed, right, Blake? And this is because Blake has, he has MS, and he's got to talk about a comorbid. I'm not telling you anything that's secret. He talks about it. He's been on the show talking about it. And that's tough when you've got a comorbidity like that. And I, as you all know, I was asked about it yesterday. I have a brother. My youngest brother has got COVID a year ago, and he's still having long-term effects. And Steve Atkins, the first guy we knew, who was a FOSI, commodore of the Madison Beach Yacht Club in Connecticut, he had it. And he seems, did you know Steve, John? Have you ever met Steve?
Which one?
Steve Adkins, Adkins, from Connecticut. He's an offshore sailor and a one design sailor, and terrific guy. He's been on the show.
I ran into him a couple times, yeah.
John Emmett, we had 31,000 people in the stadium today. Everyone had been double vaxxed and encouraged to get a lateral flow. Well, that's the problem. These tests, the lat flow tests, McIrvin tells me, are not all that accurate. You got to get the PCR.
And last time I had a lateral flow test, I pulled a hamstring.
Graham Sweeney, I'd rather go down to the Tenderloin wearing a Rolex than be in a group of people. Well, I wouldn't want to go down to the Tenderloin wearing a Rolex. That's the junky, in every sense of the word, district here in San Francisco. Tom, if you are canceling, you will be free to do another sailing show. Well, no, we weren't canceling for. We're canceling Friday's show, and this is we're talking about canceling a Saturday potluck here on New Year's Day here in San Francisco. Blake is saying I'm double vaxxed plus booster, but with my ultra dangerous health consideration with MS infusion drugs that remove the B cells, I must stay clear of all the wackadoodles who refuse to mask. Yep. Mm-hmm. Ken Saban's going sailing January, end of Catalina 22 midwinters, but I'm wondering if they'll be held. Yeah, who knows what's going to happen. It's not a personal responsibility. It's a public health one. The Maria Barts of the world. Who's Maria Bart of the World of Dangerous? A little political comment there from Stingray. Thank you for that. Let's get with that. I think it's time to go to Whiskey Tango Foxtrot.
I think so.
Huh?
Yes.
Should we go to Whiskey Tango Foxtrot?
But
I just like the music. The trouble didn't start after I ate the apple. It was after I ate the mushroom. That's when the snake started talking.
That's class.
I'm sorry. Sometimes he sent to me and I cut and paste them and I forget then where, and I go back and look and I can't. So apologies to whoever sent that. It was one of the funniest things. I think Stingray may have even sent that. At least for some reason, Stingray, this cartoon, for whatever reason, reminds me of you. Forgive me for saying. Now, who sent me this one? Which would you abstain from? Women, or wine? The two old geezers there on the beach. I need to know the year.
Oh, that's class.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just happy when I wake up in the morning.
Tom, the two greatest religions in the world, you have Islam and then you have the Mormons. Both can have multiple wives. Neither of them can you have alcohol.
Yes.
It seemed to mix.
No, Stingray says that was not him. This came from Ted Ryman. He sends the good ones. Masks are the new bra. They're uncomfortable. I wouldn't know. You only wear them in public. And when you don't wear one, everyone notices, Julia.
Yes.
Is that true?
Not necessarily.
You could say it's the new jockstrap, but then no one notices if you're not wearing one. I guess. Except your teammates, maybe. And of course, nobody wears them anymore because they wear compression shorts. Mm-hmm. Right there, do you see it? This is for all you nerds. This is from Jim Palmer. You know what that is he's pointing to? Oh my God, I can't believe it.
Omicron.
No, it's not that. It's a good guess, though. In the periodic table, it's an element with that smiley face. It's the element of surprise. It was clean.
Yes.
Come on, it's clean.
Oh, it is. It is.
Okay, I thought that was a good way to wrap up the new year, to be clean and no finger there. I'll tell you, I was sent when the element of surprise. Stingray got it. I don't think Stingray sent that to me. No, it was sent by Jim Palmer. I was sent one that Julia was really funny, but was really foul. So I didn't put it in because they knew you would be one last one for the year.
Mm.
Okay, well, Captain Jack, thank you very much indeed. John Schafer,
Come back.
Thank you.
live.
It's been great. I'll come back, but I have a parting joke for you.
Please.
You know, the only thing more cheesy than a fake Rolex is a real Rolex.
Swiss cheese. You know, we used to buy those fake Rolexes in Malaysia and Singapore and Hong Kong, and in fact, I brought one back to Tom Lewick, the founder of Scuttlebutt, and he eventually got a real Rolex, but he wanted a Rolex, so I brought him one back from Malaysia. I had been doing something in Malaysia, F1 related, I guess, and he put it on, and it was a little heavier than a regular Rolex. And it was, I think it was battery operated. It may have been mechanical. I don't even remember, but it worked for about a week. We called it the Molex. it worked, and then it cost all of $19.95. It was not a big
I
deal.
had one that lasted for years and years.
Fake one?
Yeah.
Nice.
I always wore it when I was traveling. I mean,
Well, Happy New Year, everyone. Lots of comments coming in.
Hey, thanks everybody. Keep being here.
The element of surprise, Stingray got that. Happy New Year, my mother, my beloved mother, Janice Davis, is saying, Gordon Smith, Happy New Year, everyone. My thanks for the fun and being informed by smart people. And Gordon, you are one of the smart ones, too, helping us. Happy New Year, Ken Saban, Blake, Middleton. Thank you, Jack, Julie, and Tom for keeping this rolling. Thank you, Captain Jack. Absolutely wonderful guest. My hat is off. Captain Jack, thank you, sir.
absolutely.
Welcome.
Much appreciated. And you are live from Annapolis. Go out and have a nice evening, and we'll see you in the new year, if not online before.
Go Air Force.
Okay. Ciao. Oh,
See you guys
Julia,
later.
we're so lucky to have cool people.
Yes,
Huh?
absolutely.
And that he stayed on is even nicer. We are to the finish line for the year for our show number 483. And there, I don't have any videos. I just thought we'd have a nice wrap up with Julia saying, one last time,
make it this day really count. Like, follow, and share.
Indeed. And if you're so inclined, comments are welcome, even in replay. If you're watching this in replay, which many of you do, that little bell icon is the one to click. And that, while we're live, I think, and that will help you be informed when we are going live or do, in fact, go live, as we now have that system set up where we're streaming it to 4 different sites, including you getting that notification if you have clicked that bell. And we are deeply appreciative to all of you who support us via Patreon. That's what keeps this show on the road. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. Stingray, thank you very much for your magnificent contribution. And to all the others of you who give us a few bucks a month and or more, John Sangmeister is one of those who is great. And we want to wish John a very happy birthday today. We failed to do that. Julie, any final comments?
No, not really.
Patrick Dyer, that's an MC Scow at the finish line is a fine way to finish the year. He liked that slide. Yep. Blake Middleton, thank you for that. Happy and healthy, prosperous New Year. Thanks, Julie Ahrens. By the way, I just should say Julie Ahrens is very well connected in the America's Cup. When she gives comments on here, and she comes very strongly and authoritatively, and it's because she has had a long. I won't go into the details of her, but she has been involved with the Cup in New Zealand, even though she's an American, since the very first challenge was filed by the Kiwis for in 84, 85, leading up to the 87 Cup, maybe even 83. Final comments. Tom and Julie, have a great 2022. As per usual, I've loved your fantastic informative shows. Thank you, Patrick Dyer. Go Air Force. James Bland is agreeing. In Annapolis, Chair Force. Congratulations on the coming 500 show. Yeah, I made a mistake. Clark Chapin and others have reminded me. I said something about that will be our last show.
Yeah.
No, I didn't mean that. We'll get to 500 and then decide whether that will be our last show or whether we cut back to one a week or do something else different or more interesting, or we just keep doing the same damn thing. We really haven't decided. And we ask you to help us decide. In fact, any ideas on what to do, Julia, for that 500 show?
Yes.
Would also be welcome. That's coming up in February. I went through the dates.
Oh, you did count through? Yeah. Okay.
Luca Craig, thank you. See you all next year. Have a good one. My Megan's birthday is today also. Will Bill give her our best? Ken Saban, thank you. And thank you to all of you. And thanks to all who've given us videos and images. We'll not, again, no show Friday, but we will do this again next Tuesday, and we'll have video from all the finishers of the Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race. And have a great New Year Eve and New Year's Day, wherever in the world you are. Happy 2022. Julia, you want to
Yes.
say this? See you in 2022. In the meantime,
Sail fast, sail safe, and especially have fun.
thank you all. Thank you all. Happy New Year.